What if the single most crucial skill your child will ever acquire isn't even on the curriculum? It's not taught in math, science, or even the most advanced academic programs. Yet, this often overlooked skill profoundly influences how your child copes with stress, cultivates relationships, overcomes setbacks, and, ultimately, finds happiness. And here's the kicker. Most parents believe they are imparting this skill, but in reality, they're missing the mark. Today, we're delving into the parenting skill that schools neglect to teach, yet every child desperately needs to thrive in the real world. It's called emotional regulation. This is the ability to manage and understand one's emotions effectively. Let's begin with a simple scenario. Imagine your child is deeply frustrated. Perhaps they lost a game, spilled juice, or didn't get their way. What typically follows? They might cry. They might yell in anger. They might withdraw and shut down emotionally. Or they might have an emotional outburst. And most adults tend to react in one of three common ways. We try to immediately suppress the emotion. We try to fix the triggering problem instantly. Or we simply tell them to calm down. But here's a crucial point we often overlook. Children aren't born with an innate understanding of how to manage their emotions. They are born with the capacity to feel emotions intensely. However, they lack the necessary tools to effectively navigate these feelings. And emotional regulation isn't something that magically develops with age. It's a skill that is learned, primarily from us, the parents and caregivers. Think about it this way. Academic skills equip children to solve problems on paper in a controlled environment. But emotional regulation empowers them to navigate the complex problems of life. It enables them to remain calm amidst conflict, bounce back after failure, handle disappointment with grace, and persevere when faced with overwhelming challenges. Without this crucial skill, even the most intellectually gifted child can struggle significantly. They might become prone to anxiety, easily reactive, quickly discouraged, or emotionally overwhelmed by the everyday ups and downs of life. However, with strong emotional regulation skills, children develop resilience and mental fortitude. They can face stressful situations without falling apart. They can experience deep emotions without losing complete control. They can acknowledge and process emotions without being consumed by them. That is an incredibly powerful asset. And it all begins at home, within the family unit. So, how do children actually learn emotional regulation? Not through lectures or sermons. Not through strict rules and regulations. Not from being told to stop crying, or you're fine, or it's not a big deal. These phrases invalidate their feelings. They learn it by observing how adults respond to emotions, both their own and the child's. When a child is overwhelmed by emotion, their brain isn't receptive to logic or reasoning. It is actively seeking safety and reassurance. And the parent or caregiver becomes the primary role model. If we respond with calmness and composure, they learn calm. If we react with panic and anxiety, they learn panic. If we respond with patience and understanding, they learn patience. If we respond with anger and frustration, they learn anger. Children don't simply listen to our words. They absorb our actions and emotional responses. Here's where many parents unknowingly struggle. We often want our children to suppress or eliminate difficult emotions because those emotions make us uncomfortable. A crying child can feel incredibly stressful to witness. A tantrum can feel overwhelming and exhausting to manage. Big, intense feelings can feel messy, unpredictable, and out of control. So, we instinctively rush to shut them down, often without realizing it. But emotional regulation isn't about suppressing or ignoring emotions. It's about understanding them, tolerating them, and learning to manage them in a safe and healthy way. And that developmental process requires guidance, support, and understanding, not control or suppression. Let's explore what emotionally supportive parenting sounds like in practice. Instead of, "Stop crying," you say, "I can see that you're really upset right now." Instead of, you're overreacting, you say, that felt really disappointing, didn't it? Instead of, calm down right now, you say, let's take a few deep breaths together. These seemingly small shifts can have a profound impact. They teach children that emotions are not inherently dangerous or something to be feared. They teach that feelings can be acknowledged, experienced, named, and processed in a healthy manner. Over time, children internalize this process of co-regulation and develop self-regulation skills. They begin to regulate themselves because they were first regulated by someone else, a trusted and supportive adult. There's a powerful concept that psychologists often describe. Before children can effectively calm themselves, they must first be calmed by others. This is known as co-regulation. When a child is overwhelmed, they borrow the calm and regulated nervous system of the adult nearby. Your steady voice, your relaxed posture, your slow and deliberate breathing. These nonverbal signals send a powerful message to their brain. You are safe. You're okay. And that feeling of safety is the very foundation of self-control and emotional stability. Not fear. Not punishment. Not shame. Safety. But emotional regulation isn't solely taught during intense emotional moments. It's also cultivated and reinforced during everyday interactions. When you actively listen without interrupting. When you validate even small frustrations. When you allow your child to experience disappointment without immediately rushing in to fix it. These everyday moments build emotional tolerance and resilience. They teach children something incredibly important and empowering. I can handle uncomfortable feelings and they will eventually pass. That belief becomes the cornerstone of resilience. And here's something that many people don't fully realize. Children who learn emotional regulation are not necessarily less emotional overall. They still experience sadness. They still experience anger. They still experience fear. But they are not completely overwhelmed or consumed by these emotions. They can move through them, process them, and learn from them instead of getting stuck inside them, paralyzed by the intensity. That ability shapes virtually every aspect of their lives. Friendships become easier to navigate. Learning becomes more accessible and enjoyable. Confidence grows naturally and organically. Because emotional stability is the bedrock of psychological strength and well-being. Now, here's the part that might surprise you the most. Teaching emotional regulation doesn't require parental perfection. Parents don't need to be calm, composed, and regulated all the time. That's an unrealistic expectation. In fact, some of the most powerful teaching moments occur when you lose your patience or make a mistake, and then actively repair the connection with your child. Saying something like, I got frustrated earlier, and I reacted poorly. I'm sorry. I should have spoken more calmly and respectfully. This teaches children something that schools rarely teach at all. Mistakes can be repaired and learned from. Emotions can be managed and processed even after they happen. Relationships can recover and be strengthened after conflict. That is emotional intelligence in action. So, if emotional regulation is so vitally important, why isn't it taught more directly and explicitly in schools? Because it's inherently difficult to standardize and measure in a quantifiable way. It can't be easily assessed on standardized tests. It doesn't neatly fit into traditional textbooks or lesson plans. But its profound impact shows up everywhere, in mental health, in the quality of relationships, in effective stress management, in intrinsic motivation, and in overall long-term well-being. It is the invisible skill that underlies a stable, fulfilling, and meaningful life. If there is one key takeaway from today, let it be this. Children don't need parents who eliminate or suppress their emotions. They need parents who help them understand, validate, and navigate their emotions. They don't need rigid control or strict discipline. They need compassionate guidance and support. They don't need perfection. They need presence, attention, and genuine connection. Because one day, your child will inevitably face disappointment, conflict, failure, and stress without you physically by their side. And in that critical moment, what will guide them is not what they memorized or learned in school. It will be what they learned from you, in the quiet, everyday moments when emotions felt overwhelming, and you showed them, through your actions and your words, how to stay steady, grounded, and resilient. That is the parenting skill that schools often overlook. But it is the skill that every child carries with them for life.